Go to work, 'cause I'm tripping. Gotta work on myself, 'cause I'm falling apart. Please wake me up, 'cause I'm slipping. Can't fight this feeling off no more. But I'm not going to give up and fall. Rise above the door, meet all my challenges and search for my strength. I defeat them all, I'm never ever gonna hide no more. I come to love myself again, yeah. For all the things I didn't know, the pain, the hurt, I let it go. Start to believe in myself and life will be sweet again, so sweet again. Above it all, beat all my challenges and search for my strength. I defeat them all, I never ever gonna hide no more. I come to love myself again, again. For all the things I didn't know, the pain, the hurt, I let it go, let it go. And I start to believe in myself, and life will be sweet again.
Good morning, all. I bet you can hear me now. Sorry, I'm on a new station. Of course, it's not that different to be muted. You guys know how that goes here. But I can't pull chat up because Restream wants me to log in. Sorry about that. But I've got chat on this screen, which means I've got the Rockfin. Hey, Chester, you should be able to hear me now. And hey, Graham. And yeah, you guys should be good. Normally I would have this up on a on a little window. But anyway, hi, good morning. Let's make sure this still works. Okay, good. And does that still work? Yes, it does. All right, cool. So here's a blue jay getting ready to come down and get a peanut. Let's see if he'll come all the way there. Let's see if he'll do that. Yes, we can hear. Good. Hello, Thomas. Thomas, you should put that. Well, not you should, but if you want to put that newsletter link in the chat, you can. I have no monitor too here, so if it turns out that the audio isn't loud enough, you guys do what you can to let me know. Texting me is going to be hard because my iPhone is being used as a camera right now, so just an FYI. But enough with this. Welcome to Monday. Good day, all. It's a beautiful day here. It's good to be out on the porch. Had to do some network wiring to get all this working without actually tearing apart the other system. So it's been a good bit of work. Let's see if this. Wait, there's cams. Okay. Oh, come on, buddy. You can do it. He's still too afraid. You saw that blue jay though. Sorry, I'm very discombobulated because I have to get used to where everything is. But I actually do have something to talk about today, which is Cyclops. The historical, mythological, symbolical, and archetypal significance of the Cyclops cannot be lost on us. And that's what I wanted to talk about. I'm going to hide my keyboard under here so I don't accidentally click on it. And yeah, we're good to go. Sorry, guys. Now I can move this mic here. And we're ready. Yeah. Lots of legends around the Cyclops, right? In fact, there's a famous expression which I've really had to relate to lately, which I'm sure that some of you guys probably have had to do the same, is, whoops, that was too fast. Okay, so it just skipped 2 slides, so now I've got to pull the keyboard out again. We'll figure this out. Let's go back one. Nope. Yeah, in the country of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. So saith the proverb. And it turns out this is a pretty famous story. I didn't realize how famous it was. But it's like all over the place. All over our mythology. All over our archetypes. The Jungian archetypes are speaking to you here. And I thought it was interesting that to look at why is there a story of all these one-eyed folk, and more importantly, why are all the people that are blind have to poke his eye out to make him to make everyone feel better? There, I kind of, yeah. And so H.G. Wells wrote a book, The Country of the Blind. While attempting to climb the unconquered crest of Parascotopetty, a fictitious mountain in Ecuador, by the way, a mountaineer named Nunez slips and falls down the far side of the mountain. At the end of his descent down a snow slope in the mountain shadows, he finds a valley cut off from the rest of the world on all sides by steep precipices. Unbeknownst to Nunez, he has discovered the fabled country of the blind. The valley had been a haven for settlers feeling the tyranny of Spanish rule until an earthquake reshaped the mountains, cutting the valley off forever from future blindness, slowly spread over many generations. The people remaining senses sharpened, and by the time the last sighted villager had died, the community had fully adapted to life without sight. Without sight. The entire community had adapted to it. Nunez descends into the valley and finds an unusual village with windowless houses and a network of paths, all bordered. Upon discovering that everyone is blind, Nunez begins reciting to himself the proverb, "In the country of the blind, the one-eyed man is king." He realizes that he can teach and rule these people, but the villagers have no concept of sight and do not understand his attempts to explain this fifth sense to them. Frustrated, Nunez becomes angry, but the villagers calm him, and he reluctantly submits to their way of life because returning to the outside world seems impossible. Do you see the allegory slipping out here? Does this sound familiar? Does it ring true to what you are going through in your life? Nunez is assigned to work for a villager named Jacob. He becomes attracted to Jacob's youngest daughter, Medina. Nunez and Medina soon fall in love, and having won her confidence, Nunez slowly starts trying to explain what sight is to her. Medina, I can see you. What is see? What is see, says Medina, right? Nunez explains, I can touch you from far away. From across the room, I know the shape of you. I can see you. This was an impossible thing to imagine for for this village. Not only for this village, but for Medina herself. How can you touch someone from across the room? Nunez slowly starts trying to explain sight. However, Medina dismisses it as his imagination. When Nunez asks for a hand in marriage, he's turned down by the village elders. Why? Because he has this obsession with seeing. And the elders find it distracting, and they think that it would be bad for Medina if she was to take a life on with someone who has this delusion of sight. Sound familiar? Because it should. An unstable obsession with sight, said the elders, says Jacob. The village doctor suggests that Nunez's eyes could be removed, and that would solve this problem. Claiming they are diseased and are great descended, because of this, his brain is in a state of constant irritation and distraction, says the doctor. And the problem is you have this eye, and if we remove the eye, you will be better. Nunez reluctantly consents to the operation because he loves Medina. However, at sunrise on the day of the operation, while all the villagers are asleep, Nunez, the failed king of the blind, sets off for the mountains without provisions of equipment, hoping to find a passage to the outside world and escape the village of the blind. Sound familiar? If you don't like it here, you can just go somewhere else. In the original story, Nunez climbs high in the surrounding mountains until night falls, and he rests, weak with cuts and bruises, but happy he has escaped the village. His fate is not revealed. In other stories, though, his fate is not revealed. In the revised and expanded edition, Nunez sees from the distance that there is a rock slide falling on the village. He attempts to warn the villagers, but again they scoff at his obsessive conspiratorial imagination. And he takes Medina with him, and they escape the village just in time before everyone is destroyed. Sound familiar? Miley Carditis? Is Miley Carditis here? We have this right now, and the one eye is aperture. The one eye is your ability to perceive what's in the world. This is a fitting topic today because my interview with Crow was released just last night. I encourage you to consider it. It basically covers the principles of aperture, and it really does hit pretty solidly well on this concept. The concept of not necessarily just the single eye, but the concept of a village trying to destroy the man who has a sense that no one else does. That is a common theme. One of the quotes from the book, "Careful," he cried with a finger in his eye. And as you see by the illustration there, the villagers are attempting to help this man because he's plagued with sight It's ruining his life, this sight, and it's making the village very uncomfortable because he keeps seeing things that no one else can see. Now, there are, let me make sure I didn't skip a slide. This same story, of course, comes across in mythology through the cyclops. There are 3 different kinds of cyclopses, or so academia seems to agree. These 3 different kinds of cyclopses have very different characters and demeanors, but they are all treated exactly the same. I don't have one over here, buddy. You gotta go get one over there now. The first of which is the Hesiodic cyclops. Famous story of 3 brothers. Whoops, wait. Let me put this up for you so you can see it. Oh, wait. Yeah, you are seeing it. Sorry, guys. I'm looking at the wrong monitor. Sorry. I need practice at this. Here comes the squirrel again. He's mad because there's not another nut. He's like, dude. Hang on, let me get him hooked up. Hang on. Hey, there's a little bumblebee trying to drink from the hummingbird feeder. That's cool. These 3 brothers, Barontes, meaning thunder, Steropes, meaning lightning. Let me get this up for you. And Argus, meaning bright. These were the 3 Hesiodic cyclops. They were the sons of Uranus and Gaia. And they made for Zeus his thunderbolt after being liberated from Uranus. Ha ha ha. The Cyclops' source of heavenly weaponry. These 3 guys made all the weapons that are famous, right? They made Zeus's thunderbolt. They made Poseidon with his trident. They made Hades with his cap of invisibility. These Cyclops were all killed by blind men. These Cyclops were all killed by people of society who believed that Nunez was crazy because he could see. And the idea of having a central sight is also associated with great power. In fact, if you did not have this great sight, you would not be able to forge these weapons, such as the thunderbolt of Zeus, the trident of Poseidon, and the cap of invisibility from Hades, right? So all of these weaponry come from the principle of single sight. And I'd like for you to consider that one of the reasons why you would need a Cyclops to create your weaponry, is because only the Cyclops would have the ability to look directly into the forge to make the thunderbolt, and only they could behold power. This is what I'm trying to explain. The thunderbolt, the trident, these are powerful weaponry, and to forge and to strike them and to shape them would require the ability to look directly at power itself. And only the Cyclops were able to build this world, as you're about to see, that not only were the Cyclops responsible for the weaponry, the ancient divine weaponry built into the Greek mythology, you and I do not yet know if they are historically simply conveying a previous reset, or if they're synchronistically tapping into the cyclical nature of civilization and technology itself, and that they're simply looking ahead. It could just be a random thing that they just nailed, like all mythology, but I'm really getting tired of believing that excuse that the Greeks were just randomly nailing every single allegory we could possibly imagine from time until now, and they had no prior gnosis to get there. As you're about to see in one of these Cyclops, it's actually been markedly responsible for the historical record itself. Building the historical record requires a mythology of Cyclops inside of it. Why? Because we had a lot of stuff when the Greeks were around, and the stuff that was so big and so powerful, they had no other way to explain it. And they had a scapegoat of giants and cyclops to own up to it. Whether or not that's true is a beautiful historical debate to have, right? But the principle of being able to perceive things of great power is inherent, and you can see that right now in your daily life. The people that are with the land of the blind are persecuting you because you see things with a sense that they do not have. That sense is this broader dilation of your aperture. Again, see the Crow episode today if you haven't caught up yet with this principle, very, very important principle of work here. You gonna get it? Good job, buddy. Good job. So the so keep that in mind. The most civilized of Cyclops, the Hesiodic Cyclops, right? These guys, the thunder. Even the most civilized and the most dutiful, these guys were nothing but obsessed with making their weaponry. And they were slaughtered and killed precisely because they made their weaponry. Zeus killed them after the thunderbolt was given. And then in every one of these stories, the one who sees is always the one who dies. Always. And you'd think that, well, but they have such great power, James. Why do they succumb? And I think it's really not necessarily succumbing as much as it's Nunez saying, I got to get the fuck out of here. I can't live here anymore. Hey, I love Medina. She's a fabulous babe. But I got to get the fuck out of here. This place is cray-cray. Everyone's insane. And they're suggesting that if I would stick this poker in my eye, that I would be acceptable among them. God, that rings so true right now in my life. So amazingly true. The next kind of Cyclops is the Homeric Cyclops. Homeric Cyclops lived in the world of men rather than among the gods. They were considered uncivilized shepherds who live in caves. They were savages with no regard for Zeus. They have no knowledge of agriculture, ships, or craft. They live solitary lives. They have no need for government. They are inhospitable to strangers who are blind, and they slaughter and eat all who would dare come to their land. There's a famous painting, Odysseus encounters the Cyclops Polyphemus. Polyphemus has a rough time. People treat him the same way. In fact, Odysseus, not only does Odysseus fuck with Polyphemus, the entire time Odysseus is fully aware that he needs Polyphemus to survive. And that really is the crux of this, that the land of the blind will still require your sight, but they cannot give you credit for it, nor can they acknowledge that it's in the room. They simply want to tap into the technology, but they do not want to be the one who possesses the sight to look into the forge, and so they will wait for you to do it for them and destroy you afterwards. And you could possibly call the Homeric Cyclops basically the Hesiodic Cyclops, except for that they've said, I'm tired of making weapons. I'm sick of you guys. You guys suck. We're going to go find something else to do, is basically that. So whether you're serving mankind or whether you are denying any interaction with him, you're still going to get slaughtered by the blind. It's just built in. The third type of Cyclops, the belly hand Cyclops, I'm calling them that, but basically the hand-to-mouth Cyclops. These are Cyclops that their power has been circumvented by their desire to survive. So basically they are craftsmen trading their labor for food, hence belly to hands Cyclops. The craftsmen of supernatural skill, possessing enormous strength, and they lived in primordial times. These builders' cyclops explain the construction of the stupendous walls at Mycenae and Tyrants, composed of massive stones that seem too large and heavy to be lifted by a normal man. Most of your ancient masonry that was there before the Greeks started talking about it had to be explained in some way, shape, or form, and that explanation was given to the cyclops, the giants. And it would make sense that this would be what we would explain our ancient civilization from, regardless of whether or not there were really giants there. I'm just saying that mythologically it would make sense that we would say, wow, who lifted that big rock? It was the giants. And that really does come into our desire to constantly take away credit from things that we do, that man does, and assign them to a supernatural race that came before us, which really does give you an excuse to kind of kick back and live a life of sloth and laziness. All of the all of these mythological archetypes are tools, right? They help you psychologically. They help us. They help society psychologically survive and perpetrate their true prana economies, which is preservation of energy, preservation of threat, preservation of paranoia. And that whatever tools you can use, whether it be mythology or technology, you will go to great lengths to ensure that you can live the prana economy you want. And that has nothing to do with what your intellect, your neocortex will say. Your neocortex will insist, we are not the land of the blind. This man is blind because he does not see. This man is blind because he sees. That this is not the land of the blind. This is the land of the sane people, and we have someone insane living among us. Sound familiar? Sound familiar? Miley Carditis? Is Miley here? Odysseus at length succeeded in making Polyphemus drunk, blinded him by plunging a burning stake into his eye while he lay asleep, and with 6 of his friends, the other had been devoured by Polyphemus, made his escape by clinging to the bellies of the sheep led out to pasture. He wants to make sure that people know that he was the one who blinded Polyphemus. Okay, this is Odysseus. Odysseus wants to make sure that people know that he was the one who blinded Polyphemus, explicitly instructing Polyphemus to make others aware of his act. So Odysseus's goal is not to kill Polyphemus. His goal is to make sure that he gets credit for restoring the blindness in the village. How does Odysseus restore the blindness in the village? By poking the eye out of anyone that has a single eye. Removing that eye restores blindness to the village. In the story of Odysseus, he is the hero figure because he restores blindness to the land. It makes everyone satisfied. Why does Odysseus only blind Polyphemus rather than killing him? Because Odysseus needed Polyphemus to move the boulder from the entrance to the cave, right? So the entire time, mankind is insisting, the blind man's crazy. The blind man is conspiratorial. The blind man has all these ideas which are mixed up and don't make any sense to anyone else. We need to remove that blind man's extra sense because it's causing him pain. And we need the blind man. And we need him. We need him for his weaponry. We need him for his technology. We need him for his wisdom in some cases. We need him to move rocks from the doors. We need him to construct all of the ancient things that are here that we do not want to claim credit for. And it's why you see this series of Kronos Gaia. It's the first thing they do is, not first, but they forge the Cyclops. They forge them. And what's the first thing that happens? The Cyclops are put into the service of man and immediately killed and destroyed by man. to hide or to protect that kind of sight. That the very first thing that powerful man thinks to do is to poke out the eye of the cyclops in order to preserve the very magic or technology that the cyclops gave them. And that mythology is so dripping with truth in today's world that we want government completely simultaneously responsible for the protection and the safety and the preservation of our life, liberty, and happiness. And we want to insist that government is the Nazi dictator that must be enslaved in more laws and in more chains. That we do that to ourselves because we are living in the land of the blind. And any of you who dare show up with a single eye must be quenched of this disease that you have. This is the Wutikoian philosophy, right? Thou who is savage shall be savagized by us, the civilized. The civilization is a predator, and it hunts down the one-eyed man because it must restore blindness to the village. Does that sound familiar? Of course it does. Do you know why mythology is so has such a long shelf life? It's because of this. It's because of this. The symbolism and the meaning rings true in every part of society, whether it be 2022, 2020, yeah, that's the year, or whether it be the 8th century, right? That there is a continuing strife and stress that we have as we learn to cope with the one-eyed man who keeps popping up in our village, right? We must squelch that one-eyed man, says the CDC. We must squelch the outlaw, right? The Cyclops had no need for government. Why? Why would the one-eyed man have no need for government? Why would the one-eyed man devour all who came to his land? I want you to think about what that means, because your first thought might be, well, cannibalism, of course. And that's what the blind village would tell you. Well, they cannibalized him. And Ben Franklin told you the same thing. Any settler, anyone from London who spends 2 years in the wilderness of America will be devoured by the 5 civilized tribes, will be devoured by them. And it's accurate. The old you will cease to exist. You find a new life among the sighted. The civilization is this land of the blind. And it persists precisely because of the appetite that so many have, right? Let's see here. Then back on. And there's so much art around this. So much. This is a life-size sculpture, meaning the smaller figures are life-size. Very, very large. It was supposed to be... sorry, this is mislabeled wrong. It says Cyclopean walls. And I said, yeah, that's not true. This is a restored cast statue of Polyphemus being blinded. And it's big, too. This is a pretty popular theme. We have to find the man who can see and blind him. It's the only way to preserve our way of life. We have to find the man who sees and blind him. It's the only way to preserve our way of life. But quickly, we must ask him for technology first. We must find the one-eyed man and blind him so that we may return to our life of no sight. This was one of the main mythological themes of the day. And it really does wrap all the way back to the the birth of civilization, where we came from, what was here, and more importantly, where we're going. What's next for us, right? Just trying to make sure I'm not missing anything here in chat. He works in the dark, if I remember. That sounds right. That does sound right, Graham. Working in the dark. Why would he work in the dark? Because the dude can see. The dude can see things that make everyone else very uncomfortable. Just drinking. It's like, good morning, y'all. Good to see y'all. I came from Ecuador. Probably the thing that makes it the hardest to kind of grow as a one-eyed king is facing the rebuke and persecution of the blind village. And I want you to know that the desire to extinguish your eye is not only something that you might fear coming from others, but it comes from yourself too. That you might find yourself in developing a fetish for blindness too. That you can survive better if you knew less. And it's true. Not only does Odysseus prove that, but life proves it. If you perceive less, you can many times survive more. Your ignorance is a white belt, as we talk about. You can embrace your ignorance in a sling of arrows as they come falling from the sky. And by closing your eyes and embracing the destiny of what happens to you, you are using the power of blindness for your advantage. And when you tap into the real prana economy of people and psychology, you realize that people who do this aren't doing it because it's a bad idea. They're doing this because it's effective, especially in a world of lies. And when you perceive the motivations of a person and you point those out to them, they have the opportunity to claim the blind man's call, which is that no one around here can see that motivation but you, because I've chosen to hide that motivation. Therefore, what you see is wrong, and that you, the one-eyed man who sees this motivation, must be blinded to be fixed. Because we cannot have a village where one of us is able to penetrate through the facade of our lies and see the behavior for what it is. That will always be emptied from the village first. The very first thing to go from the village will be the man who sees. This is the role of the hermit. This is the role of the seeker. This is the role of the shaman. And you're not cast out because you're hated. You're cast out because you have a sense that makes everyone around you very uncomfortable. When you tap into the vitriol of that kind of pain, you will overcome your desire to want to blind yourself, or worse, you will overcome your desire to sabotage yourself and look for an opportunity to place your own head in the guillotine of the blind village in hopes that they will now accept you as one of their own because you too have decided that this extra appendage, this extra sense you have, is a problem too. And take it from me, that tactic is not going to work. Your sight is going to come back. If you stick a poker in your eye, it will heal. This kind of eye will heal. Your perception will return. The belt of ignorance is only good for so long, and then it just becomes silly. It becomes something that you're not able to hold, and it ceases to serve you in the long term, which means you end up having to embrace the cyclops. And when you're there to embrace the cyclops, I want you to notice that whether you are the builder of all technology, the Hasidic cyclops, whether you are the outcast, the one who is living a solitary hermetical life, or whether you were the one that is responsible for all the great things that happened before us. You are the pedestal. You will be placed on the pedestal. You will be made the golden child, and the very first thing they do to the golden child is stick a needle in its eye. The one-eyed Jack is a wild card. Why? Because the one-eyed Jack sees. It sees what's happening. Why does it see? Because it's not using its two eyes. It's embracing its singular, its oculus, its cyclopean inside. This is the very sense of perception and aperture, and not everyone has it. And you're living in a world where people are having a battle, a human battle right now, with what is acceptable inside of the blindness. That we make a vote about what we are all going to collectively call blind, and the village decides, and once the vote is cast, anyone who sees something that's not supposed to be seen will be hunted down judiciously. Right? This is the land itself secreting melanin into the pores to stop the processing of light. Your body has melanin and dopamine. It's the gas pedal and the brake. The gas is the dopamine. The more dopamine your eyes have, the more they see. The less dopamine they have, your eyes cease to function. The more melanin your eyes secrete, the less details, the less information you will receive from the black sun, if you listen to the last episode. That you were able to squint not only your eyes, but your perception as well. And you squint your perception through the throttling, through the amygdala of this dopamine and melanin. And if you will, regardless of where you end up, you will be surrounded by people that do not have enough melanin in their body to make themselves uncomfortable. And so they go out into the world and they physically stick things in people's eyes. And they will insist, you cannot see that. It is too uncomfortable for me and my community. That is a constant battle that's happening every day, which is why this is not just a war on consciousness. This is the nature of consciousness blooming and spreading its pollen among itself. That you're watching the process in real time. And this is what it looks like. Stop looking at the world, wondering if it's going to be fair. Stop expecting people to understand that maybe you see something they don't. Stop expecting people to, if you give them great technology, that they will not use it to stick a needle in your eye, because they will. You're watching the comfort of the polyvagal squeeze and constrict itself and relax and let go based on what is comfortable in the room. Some of you can read other people. Some of you are not sure if you can read other people. Some of you are still sharpening your ability to read other people. And as you sharpen that ability, I warn you that if you get too careful at that, you will become a cyclops in people's eyes. That your witness will penetrate them to such a profound degree that they will find excuses to throw boulders at you and insist that you're the one doing something wrong. And when you have enough compassion and electricity, you can watch this process happen in real time and remember this cyclops and realize this is how people adjust to reality. And that there's reality out there that is so painful that it's best just to insist it's not there. I think it's really beautiful that we have so much fraud in the world. I don't think that I would be mentally stable had there not been so much fraud. I think the Cyclops appreciates fraud because the fraud is the Cyclops' sanity. When you see the village committing fraud to keep everyone blind, the Cyclops suddenly feels that his sense is not a problem at all. In fact, his sense is right the fuck on. Fraud is giving you a gift, and the uncomfortable nature of the fraud might be stopping you from truly enjoying its nutrition. Because the fraud is telling you, yes, of course the things that you see are not based in truth so much as they're based in comfort. Yes, of course this is not a truth movement, it's a comfort movement. And it's not even broken. That this is the way, this is the path to the heretical truth. And guess what? These people are providing you, the Cyclops, the necessary tools you need to perfect your senses too. And the fraud is showing you, it's giving you a direct feedback telling you, yeah, of course it's bullshit, dude. Of course it's bullshit. The Cavendish experiment. This dude goes out to his barn and hangs giant lead balls from chains. And he's got it all rigged up to where if one ball moves, it causes the other balls to move. And he gets outside of that barn and he builds a mortar wall, and he cuts a little sight hole through that mortar wall so he can sit outside the room because he's afraid that his personal electricity will change these balls. And he stares at these lead balls through this telescope, through the hole in the wall. And suddenly, the blind people have decided that this man has invented gravity. And for 100, 200 years, people kept insisting, well, Cavendish's balls prove that there's gravity. And not once, ever, has anyone been able to repeat or even get through his experiment without calling bullshit. But it doesn't matter because that's built into science right now. It's built into the mythology. Whether it be the cosmology, the shape of the earth, the shape of psychology, whether it be that over 50% of the population is currently on some type of psychotropic. And there's never even been proof of a chemical imbalance. That you're watching the truth unfold before your senses, and those senses are something that you have that maybe your ancestor did not. That they've been developed and handed to you, much like Prometheus handing you fire. That fire is showing you the truth, the reflections on the cave wall. But you're surrounded by people that are going to become very violent when you try and point out the source of these things. And they will become even more violent when you point out that they are the ones responsible for their own resistance to the truth of what's behind them. And they insist, but it's these chains, man. I can't get these chains off. That's why I can't turn around. And that's not it at all. Those chains are comfort device. Devised by the people in the village, in the blind village, to make us feel more comfortable. Just like the Palisade, right? Yeah, you got to cut your hair. Why? Because you look like one of them. You look like one of the savages out there. What you mean savages? You mean the people that showed us how to farm? Yes, those savages. The one that told you to stick a fish in the hole. The one that told you the three sisters of beans, corn, and squash. Those savages. You can't have long hair. You'll look like them. Well, what happens if I look like them? We will stab you in the eye. Why are you not paying attention? If you look like them, we will stab you in the eye. Now get back in the Palisade. We need to cut down those live trees and bring them in here. And once they're dead, we'll stick them in the ground. We'll plant them. Why? Because it's the land of the blind. Are you not paying attention? Right? So, these are the things that we have on our plate. These are the things we get to do. I hope you guys check out that Crow episode. Let me know what you think about that. Crow called it perception, not aperture. But perception would be everyone would perceive, but everyone would perceive differently through the opening of their aperture. That's why that's such a perfect word. That aperture, the opening, is going to determine exactly how much information is able to get through the hole. Smaller hole means less information. Bigger hole means bigger information. And bigger information doesn't mean friends. Bigger information doesn't mean accepted among your peers. Bigger information doesn't mean you will be successful in the world. Why were the Cyclops not successful? The dude could make a thunderbolt worthy of Zeus. The dude could make the trident worthy of Poseidon. Why the fuck were they not successful? Because they were surrounded by blind. They were surrounded by the people in the blind. This isn't going to go away. It's why shamans are a minority class. It's why you will constantly be facing these kinds of issues. And it's only going to be because people can see that you see things. They don't like it. They think it's bad. They think it's dangerous. And they will stick you in the eye over and over and over again, as long as it takes. As long as it takes until you stop seeing things. Because that's what civilization needs to survive. It's a short story if you want to read that H.G. Wells one. It's a good one. All right. Let's see. Hey, you guys, let me know. Is the audio okay on this? Is this setup audio okay? I'll get better with the button pushing, but just let me know if the audio is going to work. I'm pretty sure all the levels are set right. Blind sight does tend to unnerve those around you. That's right. Watch both the elders of the family. I agree with you, Graham. Hey, Jay Supriano is here. Speaking from experience, losing your sight isn't as bad as you may imagine. Personally, I find it harder to lose my hearing. That's so funny you say that, Graham. I spent most of my life saying the same thing. Of course, I grew up with a piano, and music has always been around, and it's just been hands down, oh God, no. Take my sight. Let me hear. I want music. I must have music. Although the visual cortex is quite a pipe organ if you think about it. Let's see. Just checking real quick if we got anything on the chats here. Going to watch the episode. Good. Jan, I hope you enjoyed it. Perception, what is it? The dictionary tells us now meaning the process of perceiving something with the senses. Perception has become episode 424. That's right, Tommy. That's the one. Thank you for you today, Steve. I appreciate it. Audio was great. Good. Thank you, Raina. Favorite part of the Three Stooges is a stick in the eye. Yeah. Yeah, that's the first thing they would do to each other is you have to be blind. It's a good catch. All right. Guys, I'm going to sign off. Hope you guys have a beautiful Monday. We'll catch you next time. Yeah. I don't know what I'm waiting for. I'll just say goodbye. Have a great day.